Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite audiobook narrators. Alright guys, so I was inspired to do this video because Graphic Audio just announced that they're going to be doing a full cast recording of A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I am so excited about that, but it also made me realize that I was a huge fan of the original narrator for A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury. Now, even when I reread these books now physically, I can still hear that narrator's voice in my head. I just think she did such a phenomenal job and really brought the characters to life. And there are a few narrators that just when I see that they're narrating the audiobook, I'm more likely to buy it. So this is just going to be a list of my favorite audiobook narrators. It's going to be a very laid-back, chill video. If you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Thursday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram and Goodreads, both linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about my favorite audiobook narrators. All right, starting off with my absolute favorite, we have Jennifer Ikeda, and she did A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, and also all the books in the Discovery of Witches series. Now, I was a little bit bummed when they switched narrators for A Court of Wings and Ruin. That narrator is also on this list. I did really enjoy her voice. However, Jennifer's was just perfection. Her voice is Feyre to me, and she just made all of the characters, just gave them so much personality and depth, and I love her voice. I've probably listened to A Court of Mist and Fury more than any other audiobook I own, and she's just so good. So if you haven't listened to the audiobooks for A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury, I highly, highly recommend them. They are one of my absolute favorites, and she will forever be one of my favorite narrators. And next up, we have Sofia Willingham, and she narrated Credence by Penelope Douglas and Black Sunshine by Karina Halley. Now, her voice is very unique. I am personally a huge fan of it. I think she does a great job. She's also able to do male voices, which I find narrators, it can sometimes come off as a little cringy. But the reason she's on this list is because both Credence and Black Sunshine have some very taboo moments, and she's able to make them work. I feel like certain narrators, when I'm reading them, have spicy scenes, especially taboo spicy scenes. It can come off a little awkward, but she does a brilliant job. So if you have not listened to either of those audiobooks, I highly recommend them. They're both really, really good. And next up, we have Stina Nielsen, and she narrated all the books in the From Blood and Ash series, and then also A Shadow in the Ember. Now, I actually read these books physically, but then I went back and I listened to them for my reread before War of Two Queens. Now, I forgot, I think when I was physically reading it, that Hawke is supposed to have a slight lilt to his voice, and she did it so beautifully. She gave him a little bit of a British accent, which I love. I'm here for it. So I just love the way she was able to bring Hawke and Poppy to life, and I love the fiery personality of Poppy. Her voice is also slightly calming, which doesn't really jive with the book, but it works. I really love the way she did it. So if you have not listened to the audiobooks for From Blood and Ash, please check them out. They're so good. And next up, we have Callie Dalton that has done a lot of the Mariana Zapata books. And then also, I just realized she did The Love Hypothesis, which I really enjoyed. So if you are unfamiliar with Mariana Zapata books, they are the slowest slow burns imaginable. And a lot of the books tackle just day-to-day life of our main characters. So that can be a little tedious to read physically, so I've started listening to them via audio, and I love this woman's voice. I could listen to her all day, and like I said, Mariana Zapata's books, it's like people going grocery shopping or going on hikes or just doing normal day-to-day stuff, and somehow this narrator is able to make them even more enjoyable, and I just felt completely engrossed every time I've read one of these books that's narrated by this narrator. So, highly recommend. Also, I'm in such a Mariana Zapata rabbit hole. So, I've read Colty, All Roads Lead Here, The Wall of Winnipeg, and From Luke Off with Love. If there are any other good MZ books, please leave them in the comments below because I just cannot get enough of this author. And next up, we have Elizabeth Evans, who's responsible for all the books in the Throne of Glass series, all the books in the Crescent City series so far, and A Court of Honey and Ash. So I actually picked up A Court of Honey and Ash because I saw it was narrated by Elizabeth Evans. I love her voice. It's just so nostalgic. I binged all of the Throne of Glass books, and her voice just reminds me of all my favorite characters, Rowan, Aelin, all of them. I love her voice. And I think SJM just writes such gripping and emotional moments, and Elizabeth Evans is able just to add to them. So very happy with her as a narrator. I will be listening to more of her works in the future, and I think she just does a phenomenal job. All right, and last up, we have Amanda Leigh Cobb, who is responsible for narrating A Court of Wings and Ruin, A Court of Frost and Starlight, City of Thorns, and a decent amount of the books in the Dark Fever series. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you know that I was not a fan of A Court of Frost and Starlight. However, I think there are a lot of comedic moments in both A Court of Frost and Starlight and City of Thorns, and Amanda Leigh Cobb was able to pull those off very well. Now, I understand it's actually SJM that wrote those words. However, you have to have good comedic timing in order to pull those off, and I think she did a pretty good job of that. Also, City of Thorns, I would not have finished if it was not for this narrator. I was buddy reading this with Isa from Fun Fantasy Books, and I could not get through it physically. I ended up changing over to audio so I could read it while I was driving, and it just seemed like a more enjoyable experience. I really like the way she narrated the books. So overall, I think she does a very good job. I don't love her quite as much as Jennifer Ikeda, but still very, very good. All right, guys, those are all of my favorite audiobook narrators. Please let me know down in the comments below if you guys have a favorite narrator or if that's just something weird that I do. I said this already, but I post new videos every Thursday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye.